Ukraine is actively deploying robots on the front lines. They have become the new face of war, writes The Telegraph. One of the newest examples of Ukrainian combat technology, the robot Snake, is already helping the Ukrainian Armed Forces on the front lines. Controlled by a pilot from the safety of a shelter, the device crawls low to the ground, defusing Russian mines and reducing the risk to Ukrainian soldiers. Snake is part of a larger series of combat vehicles that will make up a fleet of 15,000 robotic systems that Kiev plans to deploy by 2025. Their purpose is to partially replace the human force that is lacking amid constant fighting and Russia's advantage in military numbers. While such systems are designed to save lives, some experts warn that automation could lower the morale barrier to killing the enemy and fundamentally change the way war is thought about. At the same time, it offers a glimpse into a future where the fight is not carried out by soldiers, but by operators and engineers with control panels. The developers of these robots told The Telegraph that the current war is already partially a machine war, although it is still in the active testing stage. The goal is not to replace infantry, but to enhance combat operations with the help of technology. There are currently over 500 defense startups focused on unmanned systems in Ukraine, supported by investments, donations, and government contracts. Ukraine was the first to create a separate unit, the Unmanned Systems Forces. Ukraine is a world leader in robotics, not in elegance, but in practicality, says David Kirichenko of the Henry Jackson Society. Ukraine is focused on making robots on a large scale and at a low cost, he explains, noting that feedback from the military allows changes to be made to models literally within a week. Toward the end of 2024, Ukraine carried out its first ever fully robotic assault near Liptsy in the Kharkiv region. Officer Shuhai from the Charter Brigade recalls the enemy was taken completely by surprise. It was unprecedented. The enemy was in complete panic. The breakthrough, according to Marcel Plichta, a former Pentagon analyst, opens the door to the next stage, coordinating autonomous drones that work together as a flock. The technology is not quite ready yet, but this is the next frontier, he says. So far, drones have proven themselves most useful in logistics, evacuation of the wounded, and engineering tasks such as mine clearance. At NATO, we said drones do boring, dirty, and dangerous jobs. Unmanned systems exist to deter, detect, and strike. This is just creating time and space to save lives, said Philip Lockwood, the Alliance's former Chief Innovation Officer. His company, Stark, has already integrated AI into all of its developments. The new OWE-V drone hits targets at 100 kilometers using AI for precision and protection against electronic warfare. We cannot win tomorrow's conflicts with systems designed for yesterday's wars, Lockwood concluded. A striking example is the Snake, capable of clearing up to 2 hectares of mines per day. Trump's team made a number of proposals to Kiev to end the war in Ukraine. One of them concerns the situation around the Zaparizia nuclear power plant. The White House is ready to declare the entire territory around the Zaparizia nuclear power plant neutral, while it will remain under US control, the Wall Street Journal reports. Not long ago, the US president offered Kyiv to buy Ukraine's power plants and nuclear facilities. Even then, Trump said that this would be the best protection for Ukraine's infrastructure. Trump is also allegedly proposing that all electricity generated at Zaparizia nuclear power plant will be supplied both to Ukraine and to the occupied territories. Last week, the head of the Ukrainian Ministry of Energy, Herman Galushchenko, admitted that Kiev is interested in joint control over the Zaparizia nuclear power plant with Washington. Ukraine needs a lot of electricity to recover from the war. The Russian Foreign Ministry claims that the Zaparizia nuclear power plant is already a Russian nuclear facility, and the Kremlin will not transfer control of it to another country. Ukraine seeks US support in regaining control of the Russian-occupied Zaparizia nuclear power plant and launching joint energy projects. Energy Minister Herman Galushchenko said, "We have a common interest with the United States to bring the Zaparizia nuclear power plant under Ukrainian control and start the operation of this nuclear power plant," Galushchenko said at an Atlantic Council discussion. "It can bring new opportunities for cooperation between us, for example, when it comes to electricity exports. The plant, the largest in Europe and among the top 10 worldwide, has been under Russian occupation since the early days of the full-scale invasion in 2022. Galushchenko suggested that restarting the plant could play a key role in Ukraine's long-term reconstruction. "We will need more electricity for any project that may be implemented in Ukraine, together with the US. We need more electricity to rebuild the country on a large scale," he added. The minister also emphasized that allowing Russia to maintain control of the plant would be a total disaster for global nuclear safety. "If we allow the Russians to keep control of Zaparizia nuclear power plant, even without resuming its operations, it will be a total disaster for everything the world has achieved in the development of peaceful atom." Russian troops in the Pakovsk direction suffered significant losses and are forced to retreat. In the Khortytsia Operational Strategic Group, it was noted that even an entire detachment of motorcycles was used for the assault, which was completely destroyed, according to Viktor Tregubov, spokesperson for the Khortytsia Operational Strategic Group. Despite Russian troops' continued efforts to capture Pakovsk, recent attempts have been marked by significant losses for the aggressor. According to Tregubov, the Russians are not succeeding in this direction, despite the significant resources they are concentrating on the assaults. Pakovsk remains the most intense direction, and an interesting element of the situation is that, despite the fact that the Russians are making the most effort, it is here that they are having the least success, said Tregubov. According to him, a large assault recently took place, during which 90 motorcycles were used, but all of them were destroyed along with the crews. At the same time, according to the major, Russian troops in the area of Kotlin and west of it had even begun to retreat. Ukrainian defenders continue to firmly hold their positions, preventing the enemy from advancing on key lines. Earlier, National Guard Commander Alexander Pivnenko said that fighters of the 14th Chervona Kalina Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine had successfully repelled one of the most massive mechanized assaults by Russian troops in the Pakovsk sector in recent times. Ukrainian troops repelled one of the largest Russian motorcycle assaults in the Pakovsk direction. The battle lasted more than 7 hours, according to the National Guard of Ukraine. Recently, one of the largest assaults by Russians on the motorcycles was repelled. This is an event that will go down in history, the National Guard of Ukraine said. According to the Ukrainian military, the Russian offensive in the Pakovsk direction lasted a little over 7 hours. According to the chief commander of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrsky, the Russian occupiers have not changed their plans and continue to try to push the Ukrainian Armed Forces units beyond the borders of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, as well as to reach the administrative borders of these regions.